Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. Today, I've got a special video. I have a special guest! I'm going to be joined by fellow YouTuber Nintenjoel, and we're each going to share our top 5 retro video games that are based on movies.
What is up, Chris, Mr. Old-Ass Retro Gamer? Thank you very much for having me on your channel. Hello, YouTube. It's Nintenjoel once again, and I am on somebody else's channel, which is kind of weird. I usually have guests on my channel, but thank you very much, Chris, for letting me be on yours, and thanks also for the interesting topic.
I wanted to do this because I am a huge movie fan. I am a film geek. I'm a filmmaker. In this room, you can only see some of my video games that I have in my collection. In the other room, it's a movie shrine. Just a little bit obsessive. So why video games that are based on films? Because they have a certain stigma about them, and always have. From back when I had my Atari 2600 when I was a child, growing up like in the late 70s and early 80s, after E.T. came out, that just ruined it for everybody. Everyone had such high expectations for the E.T. game because that movie was like this juggernaut at the box office. So of course, the video game's got to be awesome too, right? Have you ever played Raiders of the Lost Ark? Not so hot. Do you think they would have learned? No. Everyone and their mother bought a copy of E.T., and everyone also brought it right back to the store and said, I want my money back. So that pretty much, as far as I can tell, started this whole negative thinking when it comes to a game based on a film. But the thing is, not all video games are created equal. Some developers are better at it than others. Some of them know exactly what to take from the movie to develop into the gameplay to make it work. There are games that are absolutely terrible. I mean, there are countless video games based on movies that are awful. I have a lot of them in my collection because I am such a movie buff that I kind of consider them collector's pieces. It was easy to get some brand recognition by slapping the movie poster on your box. And back in the days of the Nintendo, everyone was snapping up licenses like no one's business. Especially like Ocean and LJN and Acclaim and Mindscape. Those games were usually pretty damn bad. I think LJN gets a lot of bad rap because some of their games I think are just misunderstood. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do have some shit. I really enjoy Jaws. I really enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street. I really enjoy Friday the 13th. They're not on this list. I mean, they're good, but they're not that good. You know what I'm saying?
You know, Nintendo and Super Nintendo and these old games, they're definitely not known for having very good video games that came from movies or sequels that came from movies, but there are definitely a few exceptions, and there were actually more than I thought. I actually had trouble picking. We could have easily done a list of probably 8 or 10, but this narrows it down a little bit. Mine are pretty unusual.
So we figured that we would do our top 5 list to prove to you that there are some gems out there. We're each going to take turns, so I get first crack at this with my 5th favorite retro video game based on a film, and that is Hook for the Super Nintendo by Sony ImageSoft. To be completely honest, I was never a really big fan of the movie that it's based on, but I did give this game a rent, and lo and behold, I actually really enjoyed it. It's a platformer, side-scrolling, where you play as Peter Pan. The controls are extremely tight. The graphics are pretty good for a mid-generation Super Nintendo game. And the thing that really gets me the most is the music in this game is fantastic. I love it. I love the first level's theme, and there's decent music dispersed throughout the entire game. Some levels have better music than others, but you know, what game has perfect music all the way through? But it's really just about the play control. It is a little slow, but it is a lot of fun, and I do find this to be more enjoyable than the film that it's based on.
The first one is for Super Nintendo, and that is Addams Family Values. Now, why do I love this game? I don't even really know. I can't even explain it. It's a pretty interesting game. It's a top-down view, kind of like Legend of Zelda type game, and I really like that perspective. I like a lot of top-down view games, and this one's pretty interesting. It's almost RPG-ish, and it's definitely an adventure game. You go around collecting items, little fetch quests and stuff, and fairly decent graphics. Nothing to scream at or anything, but it's just an interesting game that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and I've talked about it in my videos before because it seems to be one of those underrated classics, if you ask me. It's an interesting game. It's very good. It's not bad. One gripe I have is getting to the first place that you can save. It is a really long time for you to actually play. You have to be willing to get into this game for at least like an hour or so, maybe even a couple hours before you can really get into this game. But either way, it's something I definitely recommend you play if you have not heard of it before. I just like those top-down view games that are adventure-type games, and that definitely falls in that category.
I do own the original Addams Family game for the TurboGrafx CD, which I do not recommend. But I had seen some video of Addams Family Values on YouTube, and I thought it looked pretty cool. I actually am on the lookout for that one. So my fourth favorite retro video game based on a film is The Terminator for the Sega Genesis by Virgin Games. I'm a huge fan of the Terminator series of movies. Definitely not Salvation, though. When it came out, I ran out and picked it up, and it was fantastic as far as I'm concerned. You play as Kyle Reese. First level, you are in the future, where you're taking on Terminators and HKs and everything in between, and you're trying to get to the time displacement machine that will send you back in time. There's cutscenes that have digitized pictures from the film, which is pretty cool for, you know, the time that this game came out. From that point on, you're basically playing as Kyle running through LA. In some parts, you're taking on everything but a Terminator, which I thought was kind of funny. This game is really rad. It is kind of short, which is its only downfall for me. The controls are great. The graphics for a Genesis game are really good. The music is pretty damn cool. And it just captures the feel of the movie. I will say that I really enjoyed the Sega CD version as well. Your turn.
The second game that I have for you guys that is a pretty darn good game in my opinion that was based on a movie is Jurassic Park. And I kind of like this game for the same reason I like Addams Family Values. It's not the greatest game or anything like that, but it's just another game that I don't really hear many people talking about. Usually all you hear when you hear people talking about Jurassic Park on a retro system is that the Super Nintendo version is much better than the Genesis. This is very true. Jurassic Park on both systems are quite different. Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo is a top-view game where you kind of had fetch quests, kind of an adventure game as well. You have weapons that you can switch between, and yeah, there's a lot of cool things to do, and it's just pretty neat. The Jurassic Park on Genesis, while it's a decent game, is just really a platformer. It's just kind of a side-scrolling platformer. It's okay. It's not bad. I have honestly not played it barely at all. Just enough to know what it is, but it didn't catch my attention like this one did. This Jurassic Park is actually a fairly decent game, and I know some people knock it, but I don't know. Again, I like that kind of weird, like, above-view style of graphics. Graphics like the Ignition Factor, that's a game that I mentioned quite a few times on my channel. A lot of people don't know about the Ignition Factor. It's a really cool game that's got above view, and anyways, yeah, just I like that view.
I respect your opinion and everything, Joel, but I really do hate that game. I never could get into it. I thought it was just a very clunky game. But, I mean, you found enjoyment in it, so more power to you. I do own it, but I actually prefer the second game for the Super Nintendo. What was it, The Chaos Continues? That one's more of like a side-scrolling action game. That one always appealed more to me. I don't know why. My third favorite retro video game based on a film is Gremlins 2: The New Batch for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Sunsoft. This was the game that pretty much defined the Nintendo for me. Every game that I got afterwards, I always compared to this game. It is like pure platforming perfection. It is a top-down action game where you play as Gizmo, and you're making your way through the Clamp building, just like in the movie. You're fighting all these gremlins and giant tomatoes and all kinds of crazy shit. The weapon power-ups are really funny and really cool. Like, you start off using like a match that fires like a little fireball, and then you get like a paper clip, and you move on to like a pencil, bow and arrow. It's crazy, but it fits in exactly with what was going on in the movie. You have little cutscenes. The platforming is really fun. It is very hard, just as all Nintendo games are. And another game that has just absolutely fantastic music. This game is a huge nostalgia bomb for me, and it is still a lot of fun. I still play this on the regular, and it is a ton of fun. I highly recommend it if you haven't picked this up. Just because it's based on a movie does not mean it sucks. This is one of the best ones out there as far as I'm concerned.
The third one I'm sure everybody loves. Awesome game. One of the first games I ever played for Super Nintendo, Super Star Wars. Super Star Wars is great. I mean, it's just a platformer, really, but I mean, you're kicking ass with the lightsaber. The difficulty is incredibly up there. It's a pretty freaking hard game. I wouldn't say it's as hard as Empire Strikes Back, which, honestly, most people tend to like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi a little more than the first one, but I just like the first one because of nostalgic value, and it's a good-looking game. It's a good-sounding game. It controls very well, and you can instantly recognize all the characters from the movie. I mean, it's a very, very good game in my opinion, and definitely one of the ones that is the exception to the bad movie game rule. You know, these two are questionable if everybody's going to like them. Super Star Wars, if you have not played it, it's an excellent, excellent platformer. I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of variety in the levels. There's like levels where you're controlling like a ship, and you know, side-scrolling levels and stuff like that. Pretty darn neat.
I love Super Star Wars, Super Emperor Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. They are all fantastic. They're all super frickin' hard. Those are one of the few games from that generation that I was actually able to beat back in the day. My second favorite retro video game based on a movie is Alien 3 for the Sega Genesis by Arena, which was also Acclaim. I'm probably one of like 5 people out there that really enjoys Alien 3 the movie.
Fuck!
Naturally, I was drawn to the game because there weren't that many games based on the Alien franchise floating around back then. So when this came out, I jumped on it. And the Super Nintendo one is pretty good too, but this one, it just beats it out because it is extremely simple. Sure, it doesn't exactly follow the plot of the movie very well. In fact, it kind of spits on it. The whole point behind this movie was that there was one alien hunting all these people, but in the game, there's hundreds of them. And also one of the major plot points in the movie was that there were no weapons on the planet where the movie took place. They only had like torches and, you know, pipes and just like blunt instruments that they could use. There was no guns, no nothing. And in the game, you start off with a machine gun and a flamethrower and a rocket launcher and grenades. But it does what it can with the property, and I think it does it really well. You play as Ripley, and you are running around in the prison from the film looking for all the inmates that have been cocooned by the aliens, and there's a specific number of them that you need to rescue within a time limit for each level in order to be able to proceed to the next level. At the start, it's pretty easy. It escalates extremely quickly. The music in this game especially is fantastic, and the graphics are awesome too. The play control is just spot on. Everything about this game is really, really good, and it doesn't get a lot of love just because it's based on a movie that not a lot of people like. So for me, this game is tops. It is probably my favorite game based on Alien. Well, Alien Isolation is really good too. An Alien Trilogy is awesome. I think because I just have this affinity for a movie that no one else seems to enjoy, I gravitate toward this more than most people would. It's just me. It's just the way I work. But I love this game. It is fantastic. It is fun. It is super hard. The music rocks. It is just, it's a blast. Your turn.
We're going on to Nintendo era now, and that is Willow. I am really surprised how much I like Willow. Holy crap, this game's really good, actually. This is one of those games that you think is going to suck. You really do. You pop it in, you look at the cover, and you're just like, how is this going to be a good game? If you've seen the movie Willow, it's about a little dude who has to do some shit. It's been so long since I've seen the movie, I don't even remember what happens. But yeah, it's a cool little movie. It's kind of a kid's movie, but it's been a really long time since I've seen it. But this one is an adventure game. It's actually an RPG, and it honestly reminds me of Crystalis for Nintendo, or Crystal as some people call it. But yeah, overhead view, it's actually an action RPG, so you actually swing your sword, and there's no separate combat or anything like that. But it's really fun. You run around and you kill things, and it's very Legend of Zelda-ish. I'm really surprised that this game also does not really seem to get talked about very much at all. Willow is a really, really good game, and yeah, it's not very expensive either, as are none of these, actually. I think even my last game is not very expensive. Actually, I know it's not. Most of these can be bought for under 20 bucks, if not all of them, and definitely some can be bought for under 10 bucks. So definitely check these out if you are into some of these, you never heard of them. Yeah, Willow's great.
Honestly, I just bought a copy of Willow not too long ago, and I was not expecting it to be an RPG, because I'd played the arcade game of Willow, and it was a straight-up side-scrolling platformer. What the fuck? Did not expect that. So my number one retro video game based on a film is something you probably wouldn't expect. It is based on a movie that is not fondly remembered, and the game is not fondly remembered either. But back in the day, this game just really grabbed me, and I played it non-stop for months. It was hard. It was super hard, actually. Nowadays, it's not as hard as I remember it being. This game just really did it for me, and that is the Lawnmower Man for the Super Nintendo by Sales Curve. I mean, come on. The movie that this game is based on was all about virtual reality and kind of video gamey themes and stuff like that, so it would obviously lend itself extremely well to a video game. And as far as I'm concerned, it did. The reason I like this game as much as I do is because it just constantly is changing up the play style. There's side-scrolling platforming levels. There are 3D flying levels where you're inside the computer. There are 3D shooter levels. There's like top-down driving levels. The variety of gameplay just blew my mind back in the day. The graphics are pretty damn good, but the best part about this game is the music, just like pretty much all these other games. The music in this game is fantastic. It's this weird techno-ish symphonic combo that works wonders while you're playing the game. It just gets you amped up to whoop some ass, and then when it needs to be moody, it gets moody. It's just a ton of fun. But the 3D graphics, that's all like Mode 7 shit, they're fantastic. It is so much fun to play those 3D levels. It does take you a little while to get used to the kind of floaty controls for those scenes, but once you get used to it, man, they are a blast and a half. I absolutely love this game. I like it so much that I even have the vastly inferior Genesis version. There's also a Sega CD version of the game out there, which is nothing like these two, and from what I understand, is completely unplayable. Take my word for it. You want a really cool, quirky, movie-based game that just is always giving you something new to do? This is the game for you.
Last game I have for you guys, Batman on the NES. Oh man, this is such a favorite. I freaking love this game. I just played this the other day just to remind myself how much I love this game. I played a few movie games that day and was pretty darn stoked on Batman. It was my favorite of the bunch, and I'm not gonna lie, it's partially due to the music and the sound. It's an incredible game. It's made by Sunsoft, who isn't really known for having the greatest games. There's been a few exceptions, but Batman, it seems like it's a Capcom game. It seems like it's got that Mega Man vibe to it. The music is so fucking good, man. I've never really heard a Sunsoft game sound this good. Not like a Capcom game. It's pretty crazy. The graphics are really good as well, although Batman's very strangely colored. He's kind of purple and blue. But this was kind of loosely based on the movie with Michael Keaton. And yeah, it's a really good game. It's a side-scrolling platformer. I wouldn't even say side-scrolling, it's just a platformer. And it's a little Ninja Gaiden-ish in the way that you get sub-weapons, and you can kind of switch between them. And it's really fun. There's all kinds of different weapons. There's a variety of enemies. You can jump off of walls. And again, the music is so captivating. It's really hard to ignore. Such a good game. Out of all these games, Batman is by far the best, and one that comes very highly recommended.
You damn straight, Batman! Excellent choice, sir. I approve. Thank you for being my guest for this episode, Nintenjoel. I greatly appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Maybe someday I'll do a collaboration with you on your channel. Only time will tell. If you haven't checked out Nintenjoel's channel, I have put the link in the description below. So check him out. A lot of great videos, a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Chris, Mr. Old-Ass Retro Gamer. I really appreciate you having me on your channel. And if you guys did like my segment, please go ahead and check out Nintenjoel and subscribe. Check out my videos. I mostly do pickups and I talk about RPGs a lot. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. And yeah, thank you very, very much for having me on, and thank you very much for watching. Keep rocking the retro games.
Also, please subscribe to my channel. I mean, why not? You're already watching it. Just do it already. I mean, what are you waiting for? And please comment on the video as well. Let us know what your top 5 retro games based on movies are. I mean, there's plenty of them out there. Not all of them are crap. I have more that I could have chosen. We could have done a top 20 and we still would have had more choices. Not all video games based on movies are bad. Let me know what you think I should have added to my list. Let me know which ones you think are absolute trash. That's another video in and of itself, so maybe we'll get to that later. Please share the video with your friends. Share it on the Facebook and the Twitter and the other internet places where you can do that sort of thing. Also, give the video a thumbs up so I know I'm doing something right. If you like this video, why not? I mean, I'm doing it right now. Look how easy that was. So, until next time, I am Chris, the Old-Ass Retro Gamer, signing off.
Oh my god. Ah! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha!